Afternoon, guys. Marvin and Kid here. How's everybody doing out there? Um, basically, here's a review, guys, you've probably been looking for, actually. Um, so I'm here to give it to you, actually, give my thoughts, opinion, view on GOTG, aka Guardians of the Galaxy. Uh, First and foremost, I respect everybody's opinion on the subject. Um, that's just me. But I'm just going to give my opinion on the subject as well. Now, let's get right out and say it. Did I enjoy the movie? Yes, I did. I enjoyed the ride. If you saw my Facebook, I literally said I enjoyed the ride. Did this movie have some problems? Yeah. Was there some things that I was a little bit iffy on? Yes. Like many of my friends have said in their reviews, yes. And I will get into that. Um, but I did enjoy this movie. The moment I saw the first trailer, I knew kind of what I was getting into. A fun, just ride in a sense. Nothing really too serious, nothing too dark, but a fun space odyssey movie that would show off some of the Marvel cosmic heroes and the cosmic characters, and that's pretty much which I knew what I was getting in forward to. Um, it Mr. James Gunn paid a lot of homage to those cheesy sci-fi movies from the 80s that I remember watching, you know, and like The Last Starfighter and things like that. So it kind of played that up. So that on that point it was just like, okay. When it was something to laugh at, I laughed at. When there was some emotional scenes in the movie. I'm gonna try not to spoil too much for anybody. There was some emotion in there, and that kind of got me a little emotionally involved. Um, but it was just fun. It was a lot of fun. When it was needed, action was needed. When it was funny, it was funny. So it had a good blend of what I was looking for. Um, I got my kind of gritty and serious tone with Captain America: Winter Soldier. With this, I was looking for more something fun, and that's what I got. So let's. So speaking as a real, true fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I've been reading the Guardians since the late '90s, before before Andy Lannon and David Abingdon took over with the modern take, which pretty much what this movie is kind of based off of. You got to remember there was a original Guardians of the Galaxy that came out back in the '60s, um, which had the original team was made up of Yondu, who was in this movie, Charlie 27, uh, Major Victory, who is Vance Astro, aka Justice in the 616 universe. Um, uh, I'm forgetting the other two members, but they were from the 31st century in an alternate Marvel Universe timeline called Earth 619. No, not 691, actually. Um, Once again, just knowledge and making people knowledgeable. But they incorporated a lot of some of those characters, like Yondu. He was in this movie, who is an original founding member of the Guardians. But the movie itself, guys, felt a lot of things. It felt like I said, homage to those classic '80s sci-fi movies, but also felt a lot of ones, and my anime fans will understand this. Felt a lot like Outlaw Star, to a T. In my opinion, it felt like a lot of Outlaw Star, and I'm gonna get into it as well. And I enjoyed that very much about it. But let's get into the characters. Okay, Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, Star Lord. I very much appreciated his Star Lord, and I appreciated them keeping him kind of stuck in his arrow that he was taken from Earth when he was abducted from Earth. He was abducted from Earth in the late 80s, 1988. So technically, I would have been only, I would have been 6 years old at that time, and he was taken, he was abducted, and so a lot of his references stayed in that era. So I appreciated that. Now, Chris Pratt has gone to say that he is a little bit of Han Solo and Marty McFly. I sensed a little bit of Han Solo, and I sensed maybe a little bit of Marty, but I really sensed more Gene Starwin, definitely, from Chris Pratt's version of Star-Lord. He had that swagger, that kind of that brash arrogance of Gene Starwin, and it pretty much came off like that. So I pretty much enjoyed it. I loved his design for his Star-Lord mask. I loved how it came on his, like, it was like it was like nanites that would just come on his face. And when he took it off, it would, when it would disintegrate, like, off his face, it really, like, it didn't just, like, go, like, come off like robotics. It, like, disintegrated, like the nanites were going back into a compartment or so. So I really enjoyed that very much. But yeah, he had the swagger of Gene Starwin, and I'm not, and if Mr. Gunn got a little bit of a impression from Gene Starwin, that's cool, but I enjoyed it very much. Zoe Saldana, who was Gamora, as you all know, guys, Gamora is my favorite of the modern Guardians. I love the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. I love her very much. I love that girl. That green badass woman is someone you don't want to screw around with, and she didn't get that name just as just a catchphrase. It's a fact. But I liked Zoe's portrayal of the Marvel Cinematic version of Gamora, in the sense of she is dangerous and she has been trained very hard and very much to the point where she can kill somebody very easily, but they gave little differences from the comic counterpart and the cinematic counterpart, which I like. I like being a little different. And what I mean by that was, in the movie, you would think, oh, she's done a lot of damage and hardships to many people, and it's true. They play that up a lot. And in the comic, she has no regrets, kind of what she's done. She doesn't, what's done is done. But in this, you see that she feels a little bit responsible. She's fighting between, that, it's like, do I accept it or do I not accept it? I have killed a lot of people, but I feel that it's not acceptable in a sense. And they play that up, still keep the fact that Thanos, the Mad Titan, trained her and did all the things to her and killed her people. And I was like, yes. I was like, yeah, they kept that true to the comic. And I was like, that's good. But I enjoyed her role. Her performance, her portrayal felt a lot like Suzuka. Twilight Suzuka. Once again, a lot of Outlaw Star. That's just my opinion on the subject. So I enjoyed her very much in this. Zoe has been a part of a lot of big franchises, and I like the fact that she wanted to put on the makeup instead of doing the practical effects. She wanted to really become Gamora. Now, I know there's some people out there, like my bro Blue Goblin has said, like, why wasn't her hair green as well, like truly Gamora, instead of being a reddish color? And I didn't mind that. Would I have said, oh, she looks like She-Hulk? No. But it is what it is. So I pretty much find it fine. Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer. As you all know, guys, I'm a big wrestling fan, and I've watched Dave Bautista's career from the start until he returned, and kind of when he was at his high and when he was at his decline. And I must say, out of all the movies I've seen him in, this is perhaps his best performance. Very much. That's my opinion on the subject. He played it very well. I was really impressed. And I give him a lot of credit because this was a role that he has said when he got the role, he broke down and cried about it because it was a lot of work in getting this role. You know, he had to really fight for this role. And I like that. That, you know, when he got it, you know, the emotion came over him and he just broke down and cried about it. So I enjoyed his portrayal of Drax. You know, his portrayal felt a little bit like, once again, I'm doing a little Outlaw Star references because it felt that way with me. His portrayal felt a lot like Asia Clan in a sense, where Asia could be a little bit jokey, but get real serious at the time. When she got serious, it was like, oh shit, get out of the way. And we saw that with Drax. It's like he could be a little, he would find pleasure in things. You know, he was a lot of philosophical as well. Like he spoke in a manner of, when I go back and read classic Drax in the comics, you kind of see where he kind of picked it up from, but also he was kind of silent in a sense, like it was about vengeance. You know, he wanted to get the ones responsible for the murder of his family. Now, I'll get into later on things like that, but I did enjoy his portrayal of Drax very much. And I think in terms of what everybody, especially the just average moviegoer, talk about, and especially some of the fans, is the portrayal of Rocket and Groot. Rocket Raccoon and Groot very much stole the show in this movie. Bradley Cooper really much got the character down packed of Rocket Raccoon. When I heard Mr. Cooper was going to play Rocket, I was a little bit like, oh man, I really, once again, the geek in me wanted somebody who was British, because in the comics, they've always depicted and said that Rocket speaks with a Cockney accent, which, you know what that means if you know what I'm talking about. So I always thought, okay, they was going to get a British, and I heard, you know, David Tennant, and then, you know, Vinnie Jones, and I was like, you know, I wouldn't mind that at all. But Bradley, when Mr. Cooper came on and he started mouthing off as Rocket, I just was like he's got the character down packed. I laughed when he did something funny, and then I really appreciated that they really showcased Rocket as the great tactician and great builder that he is. I mean, this guy can build things off the fly really quickly and show his brains, and why he's one of the brains and geniuses of the modern Guardian team. You know, they played that up very well, and I really appreciated that. With Groot and the limited dialogue with what Mr. Vin Diesel had, I appreciate what he gave. You know, his "I am Groot." You know, it was 3 words, but in each part of the movie where he said it, you can really appreciate what he was trying to get across. Was Groot a little bit childlike in a sense, but then you can see when he got serious, and when he got vicious, and you know, he stood by the Guardians, you know, his team, you know, he stood by them, and you know, I love how they depicted his abilities, because in the comics they never really went into too much detail of his abilities, especially in the comics now. They don't really go into detail. They just have him be like a big tree man brute. In this, I like that what they depicted him as, and it was a lot of fun. But we saw like the different aspects of each character, what was making them tick, and what they felt is, in a sense, their downfall of each other, you know, that were played off. You know. But I will admit, definitely have to agree with what Blue Goblin said about Star-Lord, is after he was taken from Earth, which they called him Terran in the movie. They didn't call him like an Earthling, they called him a Terran. and I had to explain that to a friend of mine. She asked me like, Terran, and I was like, it's another word for Earthling or Earther. I'm surprised we didn't hear that a lot, because that's what most of the alien races in the Marvel Universe call Earthlings from Earth. They call them Earthers. But we saw basically. Gabi said it's funny that after 20-something years being out in space, he didn't go back to Earth with a spaceship or so and just explain to the family that he may have had left, and like, I'm okay, here I am, things like that. But it kind of, or even like some say like, okay, I did go back, but I've left because I didn't want to put them through that pressure of like, here I am, I'm grown up now, and it was okay. But a lot of the other characters, like Benicio del Toro reprising as well as the Collector, was good. Michael Rook, who played Yondu, once again, a character from the founding member of the Guardians. I thought it was cool to have him be like the one that raised Star-Lord. Yondu's race are good marksmen with the bow and arrow, but they put a twist on his marksmanship with his arrow, and I thought that was really good, where they had, it was like a whistling arrow, and it was more tech than just your standard bow and arrow, which it was cool at best. Let's get into the villains. Lee Pace is Ronan the Accuser. Now, this is where I had my problems, and where I really kind of was a little bit picky about it, because to me, he wasn't really Ronan the Accuser, in my opinion. I really was a little bit like, okay, is he really the villain in this? Or is he not? Because when you think of Ronan the Accuser, Kree, badass, big hammer, guy who nearly took out the entire Avengers by himself. It's like, it was kind of, I was a little bit iffy on him, because he felt like Ronan don't really take orders from too many nobody. And I was really a little bit like, okay, really, like, they could have really made Ronan a little bit more badass in this. But his look and making him a Kree really is what I appreciated the most. I was like, yeah, he's a Kree. Thank you very much. Karen Gillan as Nebula. Different from the comic counterpart of Nebula, and I enjoyed her. Nebula was a little bit different, more to the point of showcasing that what her and her sister Gamora went through with Thanos. She really got the hell's bent end of the torture and everything like that, of the modifications and stuff. Because once again, I'm not going to spoil too much. You see in the movie, like, is she or is she not sapient? Is she more sapient, or is she more what has happened to her? And Karen, what she was given, I appreciated very much. And I enjoyed the fight scene between her and Gamora very much. But like I said, they played that up, that sisterhood between them, and more of like, you would feel a little bit disappointed. What I felt a little bit of it was a little bit of Kitana and Melina. How they portray them as sisters. Kitana's more of this, and Gamora's more of this. I mean, Kitana's more of this, and Melina's more of that. And you saw that, and you saw the differences between them. But she was bad, very much bad. She did a lot of, when she needed to. But it was good to see, the Nova Corp, and even though I wish it was the Nova Corp that I love, but I appreciated what they did. The Nova Corp in this, once again, paying a little bit of homage to the more anime. It felt like the Galactic Police, the Galaxy Police, from Tenchi. They felt more like that. but I enjoyed it. It was no, I didn't mind it, but it was fun. The movie was just a lot of fun. It was just fun. The quirks that Rocket was given in this just had you on the floor laughing. I was just laughing at what he was saying. He didn't pull any strings. He felt like Rocket, and I really enjoyed Rocket's in this. He was one of my favorite characters in this. What else can I talk about? Oh, and they did have another Kree, but I wasn't really sure if he was Kree. Dimjin Honso, who played Korath the Pursuer in this. He was the character that said, "Drop it now." I was really interested because I was like, okay, so is he Kree or not? Because it was interesting because in the comics, Korath the Pursuer is a Kree, and there's only two depictions of Kree: the blue race and the pink race, or Caucasian-looking Kree, like what Marvel is. They're the pink race, Caucasian or so. So I was like, so they're black Kree now, huh? Okay, that's fine. But what he was given once again was fine. It wasn't a lot that he was given, but he was there and he did what he was given. No matter, once again, there was something that Vin Diesel said. No matter how small the role is, it's how you deliver it and things like that, and how much, and what he was given, and I appreciated what he was given. I mean, I did like where he once again, I'll spoil this, where him and Star-Lord meet again. He finally says Star-Lord. He says Star-Lord, and Krill he like puts a smile on his face. He's like, it was almost like, yeah, he remembered my name, and I was like, it was fun. I enjoyed that very much. But what Drax did to him was, oh shit. But it was a lot of fun. But a lot of cameos from other Guardians or just galactic Marvel characters in there. We saw a certain dog known as Cosmo in there. I was like, oh, look at Cosmo. And then, he was in the spacesuit. It was like, oh man. We saw once again a certain cocoon that a certain character known as Adam, last name with a W, came out of, and it was just like, oh man, look at the. It was a lot of fun, and John C. Reilly and Glenn Close and all of them. Glenn Close was the Nova Prime in this, and once again, what she was given, it was I appreciate it. Legend. I'm not gonna really harp on her, too much. John C. Reilly as a Nova Corps man, known as what is his Rahna Day, who is basically the Nova Corps member who gives Richard Rider the power. Basically, he's Richard's Abensura in the comics. But in this, they did a little bit different. But what he was given was fine. But everybody played their roles pretty much. I appreciate what everybody was given, and they did what they were supposed to do. But there is like a sort of sacrifice with one of the core members, one of the prime Guardians. Not going to spoil it, but I know true. We all know that it's not over for that character, and that was fun. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the Mad Titan himself. Ooh, the voice of Josh Brolin coming out of that ooh, it's like, ooh, yeah, very good. Yeah, and you see him, they played a lot of, not just, like I said, Cosmo and Adam, but they had this Celestials, and I was like, oh, that just geeked me out, and I was just like, yes, a certain artifacts is like, oh man, so they had a lot of, they were set points in this. And at the ending, that ending, uh, that, you know what, seeing it fully, it still makes me just like, I don't know where they're going with that, but that's funny. And, you know, anybody should know who I'm talking about, but it's funny. It's funny indeed. So I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I enjoyed the ride, guy. It had its problems, yes, you know, but it wasn't to the point of me harboring for me not enjoying the movie. Now, uh, now if there's any other questions you want me to ask, you can leave it in the comment section. And I'll answer it there. But all the kid did enjoy the movie, and I'm glad to see that Marvel took a big risk with this. They took a big risk with characters that not a lot of people are very familiar with, unknown characters, and they took the risk and it paid off very much. A movie with a budget of 170 mil, box office wise, they made that money back with over 318 million 815,181 dollars as a box office total. So they made back their money, and pretty much people enjoyed the ride. And yes, there is going to be a sequel, and I'm hoping they play up more of, like, they kind of give tidbits of Star-Lord's dad and things like that. So we're hoping to see more. I know I give a lot of credit. I give James Gunn a lot of credit. I want to thank them and thank everybody, all the actors and even the supporting actors. Thank you for delivering. Thank you for giving us a little bit of a teaser of what the Marvel Cinematic Cosmic Universe is like. You know, thank you very much for that. So other than that, guys, that's it. You know, like I said, you guys tell me what you thought about the movie. Was it the best Marvel movie? Was it? No, it wasn't. But overall, if I was to give it on a scale of 5 Star-Lord masks, I would give it 4.5. If I was giving it, if out of 10 Star-Lord masks, I give it a 5.5 Star-Lord mask. But other than that, it was I enjoyed it very much. But other than that, guys, you guys tell me what you thought about Guardians of the Galaxy. Saw it. I enjoyed it. Be honest with yourselves. You know, keep it real as always. Give me input. What did you think about the movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you have the same problems that I have with it, but still enjoyed the ride? Other than that, guys, take care. Have a good week, and I will see you guys next time with another movie review from the kid. You guys take care.